Hello everyone and welcome to Shard TCG. My name is James and today we're going to be taking a look at the aquatics today. Okay, so first of all I'd like to apologise because I'm not doing a live stream tonight. I'm not sure if you can hear it in my throat. I'm a little bit groggy. I've been ill the last few days. I just know I'm not going to be up for it tonight. So apologise for that. Let's get on with the video. Okay, so we're starting off with the Abaya. Now, this one took me a long time to learn how to pronounce with the spelling A-B-A-I-A. I was like, the Abaya? The Abaya? Because this is a Lycanites mobs, and this one is based off an old mythology. And I've been told by Richard that it is pronounced the Abaya. So if any of you don't know, if you've never heard any of these, that is how it is pronounced. So try to commit that in memory because I cannot, for the sake of me, commit that just by looking at how the name is spelt. Yeah, so as we dive deep into the Abaya, we have its effect which stands out, Submerge. So during the owner's end phase, return this creature back to the owner's hand. Now, not very useful of an effect really because I mean, it costs you one shot to get the creature out. You want the creature to remain out on the field, don't you? But we balance that. We balance that with its attack power there. With Arc Lightning, if you take a look at that, it's a one-shot creature with a 4 attack with Pierce. That is a whopping load of damage for a one-shot creature, considering most one-shot creatures deal about 2 damage, 3 if they're particularly effective and have weaknesses in other areas. But with 4 damage with Pierce on a one-shot creature, very powerful. But, like I said, the drawback is it will return to your hand. Its other attack, Voltaic Field, is 2 damage with Splash. Now, splash damage, if you don't know, means when you target a creature, it will then target the adjacent creatures for the same amount of damage. So instead of just doing 2 damage, it can potentially do up to 6 damage. And it's just spread evenly across a small amount of creatures. So a lot of potential to wreak havoc with the Abaya. And it's really exciting to see this creature in Shard TCG. When it comes out, you know trouble is afoot. The Abaya is going to get in there and he's going to do some damage. So to sum up, the drawback is that we're giving up field presence with the Abaya because it will be returned to the hand. But the advantage is those whopping 2 attacks. That utility with the Abaya is scary. And I would recommend having this in either an aquatic deck or a lightning deck. It works both ways. Maybe you'll find some kind of mixed combo. I don't know. Go out, have fun, experiment. Try out the Abaya. It's a lot of fun. Look at that cheeky grin of his. You can't resist him. Get an Abaya for your deck. Okay, and next up we have the IRA, an arcane aquatic creature. Now, the IRA is quite good, but doesn't quite gel with a lot of aquatic creatures in the same way. And I'll go over that and why we did it that way. The anti-magic field, which is its effect, I'll just read it out now. This creature is immune to combat spells. When this creature is summoned, you may target a spell. Disable the target spell's effect until the end phase. Now, the IRA is really good for its on-summon effect. By getting it out, you can disable a spell till the end of the turn. It can be very, very vital. You can perhaps utilize the IRA by disabling rituals and stopping them from triggering offerings when the IRA comes out, or by stopping your opponent's channel spells by limiting what you can do on your side of the field that turn. The IRA's stats are a 2/3/2 with Spellbreaker, which means that the IRA is all about going in and attacking that back line, taking out your opponent's spells, which is fantastic to have. It's definitely good, and it fills a niche in a lot of aquatic decks. So when you look at it, the IRA is a handy one-shot creature to have in your deck with that anti-magic field. It has a decent attack encounter with them both being at 2, and excellent health at 3, which will give it a little bit more sustainability compared to other one-shot creatures. Alright, next we're moving on to our 2-shard aquatic creature, the Lacedon. So let's dive into the Lacedon's effect, Rise from the Depths. When this creature is in your hand and a creature returns to your hand, you may free summon this creature sleeping into the same position. This is a great way of keeping sustainability when you do have certain other aquatic creatures that like to perhaps return to the hand, or aquatic spell effects or other creature effects that do trigger that return creatures to the hand. The Lastodon can be in your hand ready to pounce. It's an excellent creature to have just for that. Keeps that sustainability going. It has below par stats in terms of attack and counter, but is above the average in health with 5, which is excellent because when he is being summoned in a sleeping position, he is very vulnerable. It is nice to have that extra health just to try and keep him there until he wakes up the turn after. The drawback with the Lastodon is it's not really worth normal summoning unless in specific circumstances when you don't have any other options in your hand and you are forced to summon the Lastodon just to keep your field presence up, then that is fine. But really, practically speaking, if you have another option in your hand, you should be leaning towards that and saving the Lastodon for that specific effect that the Lastodon has. Okay guys, I hope you're enjoying the video so far. We've got 2 more creatures to go. I would just like to take a moment just to remind you, if you could leave a like for the video, it really helps out the channel. And if you haven't already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're enjoying the content and you want to see more videos like this. Okay guys, thank you very much. Let's get back to the video. Okay, and next up we're on to the Carrion. Now the Carrion is our 2-shard crustacean. Now when we think of aquatics, we lean towards the idea of fish. So the Carrion stands out in that sense that it is a crustacean, a crab, and it's got a little bit of a different effect which leans into the aquatic theme but also into the order theme. It was a beautiful little balance. Now his effect is called Shield Hero. When there are more opposing creatures than allied creatures, any damage dealt to this creature is reduced by 1. Now, if you know the order element, you know that order is all about gaining buffs when you're at a disadvantage, which, as I've just read in Shield Hero, shows that, you know, your opponent has more creatures, you gain more defense, so it makes the Carrion hard to kill. Now, how this works with aquatics is when we're leaning towards the idea of aquatics returning to the hand a lot because they're submerging again before returning back to the field to then attack and then back to the hand. So they're constantly submerging and re-emerging. Yes, re-emerging back into the field. So with perhaps the Carrion being your last man standing when all your aquatic creatures do return to your hand, having that extra shield bonus when he is left on his own is a huge advantage, and that's why we really love how the Carrion can blend in with the order effect and the aquatic effect. Now if we look into the Carrion stats, his health is once again above average. If we have a 5 health on a 2-shard creature, which makes him quite strong. His attack is unfortunately below average, but we have to balance it in some way. So Gilded Claw only deals 3 damage. It has no additional effects to that. It is just a plain vanilla 3 damage attack. And then the Carrion of course has its block, which is just a 1 block, which is pretty standard in Shard TCG. Reducing 1 damage does do a lot for edging yourself in the game, but with its effect, once again we're circling back to Shield Hero, it can then double its defense that way using its effect if it's the 1 creature. Now mitigating 2 damage is basically equivalent to mitigating a 1-shard creature. So when you think about that, every time you go up 1 shard, you're gaining on average about 2 damage. So you're essentially making the Carrion able to take on 3-shard plus creatures, at least defensively anyway. There's no way the Carrion will be able to take out a 3-shard plus creature, but can definitely hold the fort for you, which is fantastic to have on your team. Lastly, we're going to take a look at the Carrion's title, Guardian. This is a handy effect, not overly used, usually overlooked, but is definitely useful in certain situations. The Guardian title can't be seen as a lesser tormentor, because if the Carrion is the only thing on the field, and even though it's not doing that much damage, your opponent may not see it as a threat and just want to attack your life direct. Well, this Guardian title stops it from doing that. The Carrion must be destroyed before you can attack your opponent's life direct. So, very handy to have in certain situations, which the Carrion is used to being in, because the Carrion normally gets left out on the field on its own, because that's where it thrives the most. Okay, and lastly we have our 3-shard aquatic creature of set 1, the Roar. This is a big ass shark that will do damage. This is your ace in the hole when you're playing an aquatic deck. So let's take a look at his stats and see what makes the Roar so deadly. So if we dive into the Roar's effect, Whirlpool, rest this creature, remove all weakness and wounds from this creature, return adjacent creatures to the hand. This effect is a great way of cleansing your field of unwanted tokens such as wounds and weaknesses, of course. The Roar wipes them out from himself, but by returning creatures to your hand, you are also wiping out any wounds or weaknesses on those creatures. So your positioning on the field is very vital when it comes to the Roar. You want those creatures adjacent to the Roar to be useful for returning to the hand. Now if we take a look at the Roar's health, we are looking at a big number there, 7. 7 for a 3-shard creature. Now that is slightly above average when we go by the ×2 rule, where on average it would normally be a 6. But a 7 for the Roar gets it above that average and makes it more sustainable on the field. Now if we look at Apex Strike, it is a bog standard attack. It does 6 damage, it has no additional effects, and the 6 damage is considered pretty average for a creature of a 3-shard level, so that is completely fine. Now if we move over to its other action, Repulse Stream, it is just a 1 block. Nothing really special there on the surface, but if you remember going back to the Roar's health, it is a whopping 7 health there, and then combining that with a 1 block means that we can block up to 8 damage potentially. Well, 8 damage and then we're destroyed. So blocking up to 7 damage, we'll say. So the Roar has very good sustainability and is an excellent trigger for returning creatures to your hand if you need that cleansing, or by triggering other creatures' effects if they are triggered from things like returning to the hand, which will be quite common in aquatic decks and aquatic decks of the future, looking at set 2 and beyond. Right now with the set 1 cards that we have, the Roar's abilities are limited, but like I've said with other set 1 cards, I think this creature will become more powerful the more cards we release, because it increases that utility that the Roar needs to get going. It will come in time, so keep an eye on this creature, because in the future he is going to be a beast of a card to mess with, and it's going to be really exciting once we get to that stage where the Roar could maybe even be considered a top rank creature. This will be excellent, right? I'm very excited for that, and I'm also very excited if you've watched to the end of this video, so thank you very much for making it this far. Once again, I'm just going to remind, if you haven't hit that like button yet and you've enjoyed this video, which I hope you have, if you've watched it to this point, then please hit that like button, and I hope to see you guys next time for some more creature breakdowns. Have a good one, guys. Goodbye.